I'm going to go ahead and bed this thing. Up here on the front, this screw is good. This one is fine. But this needs to raise up. And like I said, it's not much. Just enough for some compound, some bedding to go in there. With it all the way down, pressed down, it is... it's 52 thousandths, and with it pushed forward and raised up a little bit, it's 32 thousandths. So it's 20 thousandths of an inch sits in there too deep. So that's the reason I'm going to fill this up. When this dries, then I'll finish fitting it and get this front release and catch more fine-tuned. I got to drill a hole up here to let this thing sit flat anyway. It's sitting kind of cocked because this bolt's in and this bolt's not in. So let me get some stuff mixed up and clean this, get the soot off of it, and then wax it real good, and I'm gonna bed this. I'm going to go ahead and put this temporary screw in there. I will drill that out bigger and put the permanent screw in, but I'm just trying to keep that hole free of epoxy right now. That'll also level out that epoxy that I've got underneath here, but mainly I've got it pushed forward to where this gap between the wood and the metal is as close as it can possibly be. Yeah, I'll give that about 10 minutes, give or take. Alright, it's been about 15 minutes or so. I've cut the excess epoxy. There was a little bit there and there and there. I've taken that off with my fingernail. Very good. Very nice. Clean. Now I'm going to pull out this escutcheon here, and I'm going to bore this hole and put this thing in to proper depth and see if I can get this. There's a little, see that little metal, this little metal thing right here. When you pull this lever down, that releases that. That's the release lever, the catch. Now, right there is a little dimple I made to drill that hole. I'm going to drill that, and I'll be right back. I've got some black marks where I put soot on this, that it has to go down a little further, just in a couple of places. I've got some little black edges around here and right there along this side. It'll seat better and better as I keep fitting it. the head of this screw is flat, and it countersinks in there pretty good ways. The head of it diameter is 245. That's a 1/4 inch to me. The screw's got to go in far enough to be flush with here, but more importantly, it's got this end of the screw right there, it's got to stick out to where it's flush with the escutcheon, and that needs to go in about .17. I'm going to start with that. Right now the head of the screw is sticking out. Just about that. Okay, I'm going to have to put a washer in there to bring that screw back out. It sits a little tiny bit, a little bit too deep. That's all right. That's where we start. That's where I'll start from. But I can put a little tiny washer in there. Okay, my work here is done. Go back to the bench. I'm screwing that last screw I drilled the hole for up from underneath. I'm looking at the screw through that hole to see if it's threading readily, easily, without cross threading or without being in a bind of any kind. So that's why I was putting it in from the wrong side. This one drops right in, fits really well. When this one tightens up nicely, it's perfectly smooth right across that escutcheon. This one lacks about a 1/16. Like I said, I may have to put a washer in this. But right now my goal is to tighten it up to pull this escutcheon metal down into the wood right here. Okay, you can see how much that screw is sticking up right there. That's how thick my washer's got to be underneath it. And this wood, this escutcheon is still sticking up above that. So that means I've got to, you see how much the screw is recessed? That washer will pull this screw back up to this level. The main thing is I've got to find out if this lever works inside and if it snaps this onto the barrel. See how this lever is still up? When it goes in, as it's going in, it pushes that lever up. But when it clicks shut, when this goes further that way, I've got to relieve some more out of this end of the front of the stock. When it clicks, it's a distinctive snap, and it's really, it just now closed. It's tight. See, I pushed it with my thumb. That's the first time it's actually closed. I pushed it with my thumb, but you're not supposed to have to do that. You should be able to just push it in, and it just goes click, and it's not there yet. So it's just a few thousandths off. I may be able to actually recess this metal further down that way into this wood, because it needs to go down a few more thousandths right there anyway. As this goes down, it's the same effect as if this were going down. So that's what I'm going to start doing, is working on relieving some wood underneath this escutcheon where it'll sit deeper. But I'm really glad to know I'm that close to it. So you can just snap it shut. You just shouldn't have to. But boy, that's tight as Dick's hat band when you do that.